everyone, John Henry here from School of Trade, and today we're going to be talking about what you need to look for in a trading computer. Now there's a couple big things that you really need to take into consideration when looking for a new computer. Now especially when that computer is directly related to going to be used for trading or for your professional business. Now when it comes to a trading computer, to get started, first of all you can go right to School of Trade website right here, schooloftrade.com, and then you can scroll down to the bottom of the website and you're going to see a day trading computers link. Now this link is going to bring you to a computer store that we offer all the different types of computers for day trading specifically, and that's what they're built for. Now I just got one of my computers off of this, so what I'll do is I'll click on the link, and then I'll have this link also down in the description of the video, but just so you have it, it's tradingcomputersnow.com/schooloftrade, and that way you get everything you need along with a free buyer's guide and what you're going to need to look for right there. So the big things that you need to look for in a trading computer. For trading, you're going to need a really heavy-duty processor. You're going to want something that's able to do a lot of multitasking. You're going to be loading up a lot of charts. Those charts are going to be loading independently. You know, you have a data feed. As an example, crude oil is going to be loading on one chart, gold on another, etc., etc. You're going to need to have a processor that can support that. So just taking a look at this baseline one right here, the first one. This is the Apache EZ. Now this one comes with an Intel Haswell Core i7, and that's going to be at 3.9 gigahertz with turbo boost. So just looking at this by itself, this type of processor is going to come with usually between 4 and 8 cores. Now, you can still find computers that are dual core, but you kind of want to stay away from those. Those are getting to the point now where those are a little bit old. So looking for quad core and higher as far as the processor goes. Now, obviously, the better, the more the better with a lot of things, but you don't have to go crazy either. You can really blow an entire budget just on a processor. So you take into consideration, 4 cores or so. Now, the speed is the next thing you want to look at. So the 3.9 gigahertz, that's really good. Looking for basically 3.2, 3.4 and up. Those are going to be the numbers you want to look for a quad-core processor that's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. So right now, this one, the Apache EZ, with an i7-4770 at 3.9, that's a really good processor to stick with. Now the motherboard, although it is good as far as what you're going to need to run the processor and everything else, if you're looking at picking up a computer and buying it instead of building it, you're not going to have to worry about this part because it's going to be taken care of. So as an example, if you buy this computer from this website by just adding it to the cart, picking it up, you're not going to have to worry about really what the motherboard does, but there are some important things when it comes to the motherboard in the sense of how fast it is, how many slots it's got, and the extra things that you're going to need to look for. So as an example, on a motherboard, your motherboard is going to be where you plug in your internet card if you need to use an Ethernet card. You're going to plug in all of your graphics cards, so you need to make sure that it's appropriate for how many that you're going to be using. Now, the next important one is going to be RAM. RAM is going to be really important. Now, I would recommend anywhere between 8 gigs and above. Now, a lot of baseline computers nowadays are going to come with 8, so you really don't have to worry too much about that. But again, just like the processor up here, the more the better. Now, I personally run 16, and it runs really well. So looking at 8 gigs or above will keep you right in the area you want to be. Now, the other really big important thing that you want to take a look at is the hard drive. Now, hard drives traditionally, if you were to get a regular one, you'll notice that on most of the hard drives it'll say, 7200 RPM or something like that. That's because there are actual mechanical bits and pieces inside those hard drives that need to rotate and move around and all of that. Well, the problem with those is those can break. Just with everything else, they can break, they can wear out, whether the motor fails or the hard drive just stops working altogether. Those kinds of things can happen. So to avoid that, as well as increase the speed, you want to look for a solid-state drive. Solid-state drives are a lot like, if you were to think of a USB drive. When you plug that USB drive in, that pops up, it gives you whatever amount of space is on that USB drive, but there's no moving parts in there. It's all one solid thing. That's because that's the first form of solid state. That's what we kind of started with, moving into solid state drives. Now, solid state drives you can also find in a lot of laptops. They come with that kind of stuff now, but the big thing with solid state drives is they're a lot faster, especially when you start looking at SATA drives. which is just a faster type of cable. It's a faster connection speed. But along with SATA, you can do some really interesting stuff with it, like linking together a bunch of different hard drives, et cetera, where they kind of communicate back and forth. But the big thing that you really want to focus on is just make sure that the hard drive you're going to get is solid state. That way there's no moving parts, there's nothing that can really break mechanically as far as the hard drive goes. Now, taking a look at digital video. Depending on how many monitors you want to use is kind of dependent on the amount of graphics cards that your computer can use, first of all. But the other big thing is going to make sure that you've got enough support in the computer itself, but how many do you really need? And that's kind of a big thing. You know, a lot of traders look at monitors and, you know, you're looking at different pictures. You know, you see pictures like this on the internet all the time, where you've got, you know, just this gigantic, gargantuan setup, hundreds of millions of monitors. And, you know, yeah, don't get me wrong. I love a lot of monitors. Just, you know, from one trader to another, I would love an entire setup that looks like that. Is it really necessary, though? No, not really. You don't need something like that. Me, personally, I run with 3 monitors, and that's perfect for me. So when you're looking at this one, this setup right here is actually pretty close to what I've got. I've got 3 24-inch monitors, and that's exactly what I need. If I find, you know, later on down the road that it's something that you might need to expand on, then by all means start adding more as you see fit. But is it necessary to start with 20 monitors to go right out of the gates with? No, it's completely unnecessary. So as far as the graphic cards go, and how many you've got and how many monitors you can support, I would start with the small one first, you know, 3 or 4 monitors. That way you can kind of work your way into it. Then again, like I was saying, if you find where you're going to need more, you know, more real estate, if you will, for monitors, then start adding more. But when you're buying your computer, just make sure that you're able to add more if you need to, but you don't necessarily have to plug that many in to start. Now the power supply, again, that's kind of like the motherboard where it's going to be taken care of if you're buying a computer from the website. But the power supply, the biggest thing is that you just need to make sure that it has enough power to run all of the graphic cards that you're running, as well as all of the other peripherals that come with the computer. So in this case, a standard power supply that's going to be pretty good is going to be about 650 watts or higher. Now you can get some that are over 1,000, and power supplies are pretty cheap. So if you wanted to upgrade one right off the bat, you could do that as well. But power supplies, just make sure that you're 650 and above, or at least enough to power everything with some to spare, and you should be good to go. So that's kind of the general overview of what you want to find with computers for what to look for as far as what you're going to need is in terms of speed, in terms of everything else. Now the next thing that you're going to need to find out is your internet speed. Now, the internet speed, second to the computer, is going to be the next important thing on your list. Internet speed is going to be how, you know, as an example, we use NinjaTrader. So it's going to be the speed that NinjaTrader communicates with everything. Your chart feed, when you place an order, how fast does that order go? Internet speeds are very, very, very important for a trader. And with internet speeds now ranging it all over the place. You know, where should you start? There's so many different options. One big thing that you definitely want to make sure of is that for your internet speed, and we'll type that out for you, internet speed, you always want to be, you know, 10 megs or above. Now you can do less than that. Don't get me wrong. It'll work with less than that. But the more and more charts that you start loading up and the more things that you're running all at one time, you're going to start bogging that internet speed down. And the last thing a trader wants to see is slippage on their account. So if I place a market order and I've got 60 charts open, and all of a sudden I get slipped 3-4 ticks, I'm out $40 right off the bat per contract that I'm trading, just because I didn't actually put a little bit more into my internet speed just to allow that kind of execution while running everything else. So internet speed is a big factor. Always put a lot of weight on the internet speed. Now, if you're not sure what your current internet speed is right now, there's a lot of ways that you can check that. What you can do is go to a website called speedtest.net. And speedtest.net right here is going to give you a application that you can use to test your speed, how fast it is, what your ping is, and a lot of that kind of stuff. So that way you can kind of see what's going on. So definitely check that out. Now, once you get your computer completely set up and installed and ready to go, you know, a lot of times when you first get a computer, there's a lot of things that you need to put on it. You know, you've got your internet browser, you've got, you know, all the different plugins and everything, all of the different applications that you're going to use on a daily basis. Now, there's a couple ways that you can do that. Now, obviously, you can go to each individual individual one and install them one by one, and that can be kind of a pain. Let's be honest, everybody hates doing that. So there's a website that you can use called NINITE.com, like you were saying night-night to your kids, NINITE.com. And NINITE is an application service that you can use, and it's free, that will actually go through one by one. You can put check marks in everything that you want, and what you can do is once you've got everything checkmarked that you want, all you have to do is go down here, click the Get Installer, and it's going to download something that looks a lot like this. And then what it's going to do is it's going to download and install everything one by one that you selected from the list. And this is going to save you a massive amount of time. There's a huge amount of things in here that you want to get on your computer, just for general use. As an example, you've got Google Chrome, which you probably installed already to get to this website. So this part you might not have to worry about too much. But as an example, for School of Trade, you want to get Skype because you've got our Skype room. If you use any other types of instant messaging, it might be a good idea to add that. Google Talk is a good one. If you want to get some different types of video players, you want to get the VLC. That one's pretty common. You can get a couple different music players if you like listening to music while you're doing it. Spotify is really good. There's just a huge amount of options in here. Now, the one key part in here are these run times. You pretty much want to download all of these. Everything is going to use at least one of these at some point, so you might as well just get it out of the way. Java is run on nearly everything in the world, so that's an important one. .NET and Silverlight, those not as common, but you'll run into it. Air, that's just Adobe, and then Shockwave is another one that you might not run into as much, but they're still important to get a hold of. Now, the imaging part, that's not really too big of a deal for us. If you want, you can use Paint.NET, and a couple of the other ones just as a painting kind of application. But the big thing, the next one is going to be documents and then security. These are going to be huge. Now, as far as documents go, sometimes, Office can be kind of expensive. It's $150 or more just to get Office. Well, you can use OpenOffice. That's kind of a free version. You're going to want Adobe Reader. That one's another really, really good thing to have. Now, as far as the security goes, there's a lot of different people that'll say 100 different things. I think Microsoft Essentials is phenomenal, especially since it's free and it's built by Microsoft. So if you're using a Microsoft-based computer, you might as well just stick with Microsoft Security as well. Now, I know a lot of other people use AVG and Avast. I've heard of those as well. But I stick with Essentials along with a couple other adware things. So AdAware, Spybot, and Avira are really good applications. Now, Avira is a different type of antivirus. So if you're going to be installing one antivirus, just make sure that you're only sticking with one in this list as far as the antivirus goes. So this one, or Avira. Some of these other ones may double as types of antivirus, but they're not really necessary. But just make sure that you're only using one at a time. They can bog your computer down quite a bit if you start installing a bunch of different types. Now, another really good application is going to be Dropbox. That's a really, really handy tool, as well as Google Drive. Now, Google Drive and Dropbox combined, that's a 1-2 punch. You can back up pretty much anything you want, and it's free. So you can't get much better than that. Now, looking past that, you've also got the utilities and the compression. Now, utilities, not really a huge thing in here. I guess you could use CD Burner XP, but most people rarely even use CD burners anymore. So this list is kind of obsolete at the moment. But the big thing next is going to be compression. You can use 7-zip or WinRAR. I find WinRAR to be a little bit user-friendly. 7-zip is a fantastic zipping application. It's just a little bit more advanced. So those are going to be the base kind of applications you want. Once you select all of them, all you have to do is click the Get Installer, and it will install all of them for you. Literally one click, done. Saves you a huge amount of time. So again, that's going to be the overview on what you're going to need when you first get your computer, as well as what to look for in the computer overall. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to send an email to School of Trade. They'll be sure to get back to you as soon as we can. Have a good one. Bye.